You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz studios in Los Angeles, California, and streaming live on Ustream, this is AfterBuzz TV for Survivor. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest Survivor news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, it's AfterBuzz TV for Survivor.
Welcome, everybody. It is Phil Svitek, and I am joined alongside my excellent co-host of this season, Steve the Steamer. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing wonderful.
So, for those of you listening, I promised that we'd have Rob Zabachnik and one of our new friends from MTV's Real World, Frank Sweeney, who actually knows Sophie very well. He was supposed to come down to the studio. He was at the finale/reunion, and apparently he's having a good time. That's why he couldn't make it to the studio. So we are Rob and Frankless, but we may do. I may do a special thing here with them in the studio that we'll post on YouTube. That's youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. We'll kind of do an interview maybe with them to get their thoughts, and especially Frank, since he knows Sophie so well. They went to medical school together, actually, which is quite interesting. It's tough to start off the show and kind of do a recap, knowing sort of who the winner is. So why don't we start there and then work our way backwards. Sophie, do you think she deserved it? Are you happy?
She deserved it more than, say, Albert, but I thought Coach should have got the money. However, like watching the final tribal council, which I did a second time just now, you can see why she did, since she answered the questions better than Coach did. Coach just sat there like somebody died. Like he was just overly apologetic, and he just didn't have any like fight in him. And so it was and Sophie was answering questions bluntly. She was giving herself credit for some moves. I thought she did a tremendous job there, and that probably what helped sway her.
Yeah,
to get the money.
I mean, just thinking about it. I mean, Jeff said it really well. The game of Survivor is you have to sort of manipulate these people and yet then get them to vote for you. Obviously, it would be way different if the jury was voting people that they didn't want to win the money, and then kind of so that way you would whittle it down to 2 and then whittle it down to the final winner. Yeah. And if that had happened, I think Coach could have won.
Yeah, could have.
But obviously,
depending how it got down to that point, like obviously, I think Sophie would have taken him out, but yeah. I think he would have won over like Albert.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, for me, the reason I loved that tribal council was because everyone's just taking a hit at everyone. No one seemed to like, the 3, which is quite interesting.
No, I mean, that's like a staple of Survivor, the bitter jury. So it's no shock to see, considering how the season went down, that pretty much everybody there would be bitter, except for Cochran. Like he's the only one who didn't seem like he was overly concerned, and I mean, he got played probably the most out of anyone there. So to see him like to take it like, okay, whatever, it's a game. And then Edna too, she was a similar vibe, but the Aussies whole tribe just reeked of bitter jury.
Yeah, they certainly did. Well, speaking of Aussie, why don't we take a? I mean, this is as much as we can. We'll try to keep this still relevant, but I guess since taking the structure of our former shows, we kind of go down the sort of major plot points of the episode. And so, although it has been a long episode and the talk of the town is Sophie winning and Coach not or whatever, why don't we talk about Ozzy versus Brandon? And
Okay.
you know, Ozzy made a very good statement, I believe, that said, you know, that Brandon was not blindsided. He was just dumb.
Yeah, and it's a truthful statement. Like, to a degree, he was blindsided because he gave it away thinking he wouldn't go, but it is a dumb move. You led yourself to get blindfolded. It's like you had like a shield and you just gave it to some other guy and you're shocked when you get shot. No, you're an idiot. And Ozzy basically said that. He didn't say it to his face, but he said it to the camera. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a correct statement.
It is, and I mean, all in all, I don't know if Brandon, I don't think would have won by any means the Survivor, but I think he definitely would have gotten to the top 3 had he not done that move. And again, for who? Albert? Really? So,
which just struck me as odd, since I didn't see those two like being as close as Brandon apparently thought they were. And obviously, we're only seeing 1 hour out of probably 72, so you're just getting little chunks here and there. But just from what they showed, it seemed like a stretch that those two were as tight as Brandon thought he was. And considering he says, like, Ozzy, I made a commitment to Albert, it just seemed, I don't know, just pretty creepy.
Yeah. But for me, what I really liked about Ozzy and Brandon's situation is that the final challenge, although, you know, I don't know how exciting it was for you to watch on TV, it was exciting for me in the sense that this was a pure mental challenge that, you know, it's yours to lose. You have no one else to blame. There's no, it's a puzzle piece or whatever. It's pure, you just got to hold on.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Which is like the sort of endurance challenge they've had in the past, like hold on to this object. And this one I know they've done before as well. And I believe Ozzy was even on a season when they did it, if I recall it correctly. But it's just you have to hold on. It's how much do you want it. And obviously Ozzy, plus he's mad flexible. I mean, we see him climbing trees, doing all sorts of wacky crap. So it seemed like right in his wheelhouse, and it shocked me that Brandon lasted as long as he did.
Yeah. No, I mean, kudos to Brandon, but
yeah.
I thought for a second, you know, Ozzy was getting a little too creative in the way he did it, but obviously it paid off and it worked to his advantage. So
yeah. One thing I like about that challenge, and actually all the challenges in general, is like the soundtrack behind it. And they make it seem much more tense than it actually is.
Yeah.
And like just watching it, it's like I want like that orchestra to like accompany me at like work.
Yeah.
Like just like random events, and just have it play in the background. It would just make things a lot more interesting. I think those guys do a really damn good job.
I agree. I certainly concur that. And again, you know what? Like, the reason why, I mean, I'm glad they used the music because in their mind, it is the most intense thing they've ever done. You know, at least for this.
Yeah.
But why don't we skip ahead to the next challenge? Once Ozzy is back in the camp, he knows he has to win this one to sort of stay alive. Initially,
and he says as much when they like do this cutaway interview and he's holding a machete. I just love the visual. Like Ozzy's like talking and he's like holding a machete. It's like I don't know if he's able to use that like real life. It'd be pretty interesting to see like Ozzy like doing like a job interview holding a machete. It's like no, I think this guy just meant to play Survivor.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I mean, you know what? We have to speak about the fact that he made it out of redemption. I mean, you know, you and I criticized his strategy, and in the end, it didn't pay off the way he wanted to. Obviously, he didn't get into the top 3. But, you know, I mean, he accomplished so much. So, I don't know. You have to give him credit for that.
Yeah, you definitely do. I mean, the guy is a phenomenal competitor. He just came up with that strategy, and regardless of the fact that we didn't agree with it, it almost worked for him. Like, if he would have won that final challenge, he would have won the whole thing. So it almost paid off. It doesn't mean it was a good strategy, but he almost made that work for him. Yeah. And he's just a phenomenal competitor.
Yeah, and the thing that I didn't like, I just didn't. For me, I didn't think Albert should have ever deserved to be here. Because Albert was saying how Ozzy was, was a bad competitor. He's manipulated people or whatever. Ozzy,
Yeah.
in the true sense of the word, he's been just there's nothing bad about Ozzy, and I think that's what he realized initially on is that the social game isn't for me. Why don't I just I'm just gonna take myself out of that, be on Redemption Island, and that way people can't be really mad at me if I beat them at a redemption challenge because that's a one-on-one duel, and so they'll sort of sympathize with me in the jury vote, and so I don't get Albert's point how Ozzy was manipulating anyone. He just
because I guess he's like jealous of the fact that Ozzy has like that seat of redemption. Like he gets to see like the jury as they pass through from the game to the purgatory of redemption, and then on to the hell of the jury. Like he's just the guy. He's like the gateway. Like he feeds them and puts them on their way, and like they can't really be mad at him because he beat them. He was the one who got them out of the game. He may have been like the final notch on them, but he was just some guy who beat him in redemption. So from that perspective, it was a solid strategy on his part. And Albert, I don't know what Albert's talking about.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the challenge tonight, the immunity challenge, the first one, do you think Sophie actually knew how to stack cards? Or was that just a strategy to offset everyone else? I
mean, you could think it would be a strategy. I mean, but she seems like a type that would have that. I mean, her father comes up, or like dressed like he has coming off his yacht. She seems pretentious enough to have that sort of like ability. And considering they've done like random like deck of card challenges, I mean, it was a good gamble to study up on that if you could. Yeah. I don't know how much time she was spent doing it, but just have a concept of what she was doing.
Didn't she say she wrote a book on that though? That was that.
I don't know if she had a book. Like there's definitely something like she does it, and like I think maybe read a book or maybe she wrote a book. Who knows? Yeah. Regardless, I'm really surprised when she would do something like that.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, that's what makes it so tough is the fact that I mean Ozzy just straight up beat her. You know?
He did. I mean, It was good though. Like when he was almost towards the top, you could see him like sweating, getting all nervous. I think that was like the first time, like throughout the game, where you saw him like just shaking and sweaty and just trying to keep his composure. So I mean, you feel how much like the whole competition weighed on him. Yeah,
I mean, I definitely agree with you. Those were some very good close-up shots of his hand trying to get the last piece. And I think this may have been the challenge that I think it might have worn on him too much to go from a redemption challenge where you have to hold on and give so much of your mental self away to this, where he was breaking down, and then the next challenge after that, it just wore on him too much, and that's that's where it's not. I'm not saying he went wrong. It's just it wore on him. So
it's just constant like win or go home. I mean, how many of those in a row did he face? I mean, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's like it's constant. And those earlier ones, even like the first few redemptions, it was him against two other people, so he had a 1-in-3 shot of winning. But when you get to the less immunities, there's more people there to beat you, so the stakes are even higher. And you basically don't get another shot at redemption out if you go back out again.
Yeah.
So the constant always having to win probably did weigh on him to a degree.
And you know what? What makes me really mad is the fact that everyone loves Coach, or everyone's talking about Coach, or Coach had a good strategy. And what I don't like is that he didn't win anything. Like, I'm really mad no one brought that up. Is that Coach was just a poor competitor. And everyone's talking about how much, he crossed people over as a good Christian man and gave everyone that they were that they'd be in top final 3.
Yeah.
But, again, Ozzy didn't do any of that. He didn't make any false promises.
No. And it's shocking to me that Coach did so little, since I remember in his first season he did well on one of the immunity challenges where it was just like concentration. And he did well, and I thought he was a relatively good competitor. But this season, he seemed useless.
Yeah, and so that's what frustrates me most, is that fact. Speaking about the second challenge, I think you know, it was obviously, for me, it was interesting to see Albert and Sophie, or the way Albert was basically sabotaging Sophie, and then Coach just knew, you know, I'm just going to stay out of this and try to win myself. If I can't, I can't, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to try to stay out of this as much as possible, because it's worn on him too.
Yeah, the Albert and Sophie dynamic just struck me as odd. I think, and Sophie mentioned this in the Tribal, like, they were close to the beginning, and then towards the end, they sort of drifted apart. And, like, that first immunity challenge where she, like, started screaming at Albert, like, drop your stack and come help me. Like, she was, like, demanding to him, just screaming at him. And then the second challenge where, I mean, there's 5 different avenues they could take, and there's only 4 people left. And how come these 2 idiots are always in the same one together? I mean, just, I don't know what it is, but it just seemed just stupid.
Yeah.
I don't understand how. I mean, Ozzy never bumped into anybody. Coach never really bumped into anybody, but those 2 are always in the same pathway. Take another one. I mean, it's not too difficult. There's 5 different pathways, 4 people. Do the math.
Yeah, and I think Albert literally made a conscious choice to just follow Sophie, thinking it would pay off.
Yeah, that could be it.
I mean, how else would you explain it, though? Like, you know, as you said, there's 5 paths. Maybe on the second and third one, or whatever, you know, as you get down towards the end, you kind of are forced to cross paths just by the nature of it, but certainly not on the first one.
Yeah, and then constantly doing it. It just, I don't know if it's a conscious thing on his thing, or he's just stupid. I mean, we gave him a lot of credit early on in the season, but as it kept unfolding, I just started losing more and more respect for the guy, because he didn't come off very well at all.
No, he did not. And that's what really made it tough for him. You know, as much as we sort of rag on Coach and Sophie, Albert was the most manipulative person alive.
Yeah, and then just seeing him and just watching his interactions, and once they started focusing on more, it made you shake your head that this guy thought he was playing such a good game. And I just don't, I don't know. I guess part of what I'm starting to have second thoughts about him in general was I saw a clip online, like, it's like a YouTube clip of his casting video for him and his friend to go on the Amazing Race. And he comes off like such a tool. And it's like, this is the guy who thought he'd go on Survivor and just win the $1 million. No, this guy's just a dope. And he showed it these last few episodes.
Yeah, because again, I mean, you know, I think if anything, what might have fooled us early on was just the fact that, you know, he had somewhere to hide, and obviously as you get closer to the end, you can't hide anymore, and his true colors really show.
Yeah, exactly. And like you see him like at least contemplating strategy, and at the time it made sense what he was doing, but in the larger picture, like he just kept overplaying his hand, just looking sloppy.
Yeah. And the thing that made the second challenge so tough for me to watch was Ozzy, and the fact that he was so much more focused on what Sophie was doing rather than him, and it's something that I've never seen him do before, and you know, that's what I feel made him lose that challenge.
Yeah, I think it was that, and the fact that he had such a big lead and he couldn't get that first piece in there, and then to have Sophie do it relatively quickly just had to just crumble him down, since, as you mentioned before, like those constant challenges just had to wear out him, and just having that happen, I mean, that might have been like the final blow for him.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And you know, for me, I don't know about you, but I was really rooting for Ozzy. I really wanted him to win. I thought he deserved it.
Me too.
And it was just tough. I mean, at the end of the day, if I had to say who were the 2 most deserving people to win that immunity challenge, I would say Ozzy or Sophie, because Albert, again, he's been very consistent. And Coach, as I said, he hasn't really shown me anything.
No, and as you mentioned before, like he seemed content on just going through the motions, making it seem like he cared. But the bottom line, he figured he wasn't going home, so why make that final enemy?
Yeah.
Which is good strategy to that degree, but whatever.
Now, speaking of Coach and all of that, let's talk about the Tribal Council where Ozzy's voted off. I mean, what did you think Coach was going to do?
He was going to do what he did. I mean, obviously you want to play like the honor card, which was, I mean, it was stupid for him to even suggest that to Ozzy. I don't know what he was getting at. Maybe just thinking that Ozzy would keep him around, which Ozzy doesn't give a crap about that. Ozzy's there to play the game.
Yeah.
And for Coach to even say it just makes him look stupid because he knows he's going back on that promise if it comes down to it, and he was. I mean, it was obvious Ozzy would have won, so he had to make a last-ditch attempt to win, and that was taking Sophie. Granted, he should have got rid of Sophie beforehand, but in that circumstance, that was the right two people to take along with him.
And by the way, that's what makes it, so tough for Ozzy is because he wanted Sophie out. And had that happened, it might be a whole different story, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Ozzy would have won if that would have transpired the way that Ozzy had hoped it would.
Yeah. So, I literally just realized that now, but yeah, damn, that's so tough. If only Sophie was voted off.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. If only this would have happened in this season, particularly, that it just boggles your mind how.
Yeah, because again,
one little move to change every domino falls after that, and that's one of the bigger ones later on in the game. Is what you just said.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't mind Coach. I know some people dislike him more than others. I didn't mind Coach up until that point when he did vote Ozzy off, because I would have liked to see Albert versus Ozzy, and then let the fate decide it. But don't get involved. Just make it a tie, and that's it.
Yeah, but obviously he had to take a shot at. I mean, that's the only move he had. So I mean, I can't fault him for that. Granted, the fact I wanted Ozzy to win and I wanted to be entertained by seeing them do a fire making challenge, yeah, I would have loved that. But I can't fault the guy for making a correct move.
You know what? But I think, in the end, I don't know. I think to have Albert versus Ozzy, he would have gained a lot more votes from the jury. And he might have won.
I don't know. If Albert would have won, then yes, he would have needed that to happen to win. But as soon as Ozzy won, which most likely would have happened, he still wouldn't win, and he would probably get third place money. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't know what. I think the difference is maybe like 25,000 or whatever. So I think second place is still 100,000. So I mean, it was the right move for that particular moment in the game. Yes, if he could have guaranteed that Albert would knock out Ozzy, I think he might have got a few more jury votes out of it, but it's not worth that gamble.
Yeah. All right, I can see your point. So I guess why don't we skip over to the final tribal council?
Yep.
And what I liked was I liked Ozzy's comment when he first started, like, hey, the good news is no winner has been decided. The bad news is everyone hates all of you.
Yeah.
I thought,
and personally, I never seen an angrier man wearing pigtails in my life.
That's true. I mean, that's such a weird look for Ozzy, especially after so many days.
I didn't understand it, but I'm just fascinated by it. Like, is he really pulling out the pigtails? Good for him.
He's confident, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, hey. I mean, he would beat me in pretty much all those challenges, so I'm not gonna knock the guy.
Yeah. Let's talk about real quick, sort of going backwards, just really quick. Their opening statements.
Yep.
For me, I didn't think any one of them made a good one. Like what?
No,
it was almost gibberish.
They were all atrocious.
If anything, I'd be trying to say, hey, Cochran, I'm sorry I did this. Brandon, I'm sorry I did this. I hope you understand why I did it. As opposed to, they weren't even emotional. They weren't even sort of cliched ones of like, hey guys, obviously it's Survivor. I regret what I did, but I had to do what I had to. None of them even said that. They just, I can't even think of a way to interpret what they said, but it was just words, really.
Yeah, and Albert was like pulling out like there's like random cliche type things like Survivor is not a game of chess pieces, it's a game of people. I connected with people. No, you didn't. They all realize you're a transparent fake tool.
Yeah, and
you didn't connect with anything.
And for him, he should have said, like, I think he should have done the reverse. I thought Survivor was a game of chess pieces. It's a game of people. I apologize. I lied a lot of the time to get here. I apologize for that. I realize, what I did. I hope you guys can forgive me. That would have been much better.
And it's like he's got to. The problem that some of these people just don't understand is it obviously depends on the journey, but you need to own up to your moves in the game and put them in the context of just a game. Obviously, there's always going to be somebody who takes it overly personal, but you're playing a game, and you just got to approach it as such.
Yeah, and what was interesting, I think it was when Cochran was asking the questions, Coach finally kind of started getting to that emotional level where after being attacked by so many people, he started to know, okay, I've wronged a lot of these people. And had he hit that sort of place earlier, I think he would have won.
Yeah, it just like his lack of wanting to own up to what he did. And it's just like, as I mentioned as we started, like he just seemed defeated the whole time he was there. And it just, I think it sunk his chances of winning the game. And it's unfortunate since up to that point, he was going to win the game, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And, Ozzy does say that, Coach, I think this is your game to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
But again, what I liked was everyone was just so brutal. I mean, Brandon against Albert and saying, did you know? Just say yes or no.
Yes or no.
Yeah.
Yes or no. He's getting all agitated and Brandon way, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually applaud Brandon for that fact. The truth, that was the time for the truth to come out. And you know what, Albert? You did manipulate Brandon, and it. Rick, I loved Rick, too.
Go back to Brandon for a second. I like not just his interaction with Albert, his interaction with Coach. Mm-hmm. Where he's like, he brought up the whole as a man of God thing, and then Coach like, oh, I thank you for raising the bar, and then and Coach says like, I want to make it up to you. It's like, how are you gonna make it up to him? You voted him out of the game for that he could have won $1 million. You stabbed him right in the back. Well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do for him after this? He's already out of the game. Yeah. And it just, once again, Coach is handling it wrong.
By the way, how does Brandon need to go into therapy? Because from the story that he was voted off, where him and his friends would never have his back, and from what it seemed like, they were getting into gang fights all the time. Yeah. And then to have this happen again, I think Brandon might need some serious therapy for abandonment issues or whatever.
Yeah, and no, you haven't even seen the reunion yet, so if we come back to discuss the reunion, we could have a lot more to talk about this. Little teaser for you.
Oh, excellent. Well, we'll talk about the reunion more. It's tough because Steamer's on the East Coast, and so I didn't want to do the show too late. I definitely wanted to get kind of our opinions about the finale. And then what sucked was, as I was watching it, they went right into the reunion. I was like, we can make this show so much better if I did see the reunion. But certainly the Steamer will talk about that. Let me ask you this: who do you think voted for who?
I don't know. Which I'm sure tomorrow morning I'll find out. But I was wondering that myself because obviously Coach got the 3 votes. We know Cochran has 1, and we know that Dawn voted for Sophie. I don't know who those other 2 people were, and I'm trying to break it down. I maybe Jim voted for Coach, and he seems like the type that would respect the better gameplay, and I believe he would think Coach would be. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe Brandon voted for Sophie, or maybe he voted for Coach.
I think Brandon voted. I think Brandon voted Coach.
You think he voted for Coach?
Yeah. I don't think he felt any allegiance to. He had an alliance to Sophie, but I don't think he cared for her.
Yeah, but then again, you would probably say the same about Albert like 2 episodes ago. So and then he thought he and Albert are like best pals. So you don't know what's going through the guy's head.
Do you think he wants to sleep with Sophie, and now he's just like telling her, "Yo, I voted for you."
Well, surprisingly, as he mentions in the reunion, he's married and has a kid. Which I don't know if he mentioned that early in the season or not, but
no, I don't think
hearing it again just shocked me.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think he's ever brought that up. Actually, wait, never mind. He did. I apologize, listeners. He did. Then that's why he wanted Michaela out so bad because he was talking about how his wife
temptation.
And
right.
He just wanted to basically cheat on his wife, and that was.
Which I chose to forget that, since I don't want to picture any woman marrying him at this stage in his life. He's just not there yet emotionally. I mean, he is making just somebody who could be a decent enough guy. Like he's overly trusting, but she's still so young, and his life experiences just haven't led him to the part where he's a responsible person.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Who else from the tribal council do you think asked really good questions or grilled them or anything like that?
We haven't really talked about Rick at all. I mean, the poor guy got voted out, and we didn't discuss it. So let's talk about his question at tribal.
Okay.
Like where he's, I don't know. I forget what his questions were. Like actually, he put down Albert, like for Albert, like wanted to say, can I comment on that? And Rick's like, no, you can't. And then he's like, you guys lived with me for 37 days. You know how I feel about liars. Like, you're on Survivor. What do you expect? Really? You expect everyone to give you their word, and that's how it's going to be? You should expect it at that point. If you knew anything about Survivor, lying comes with it. So just drop your whole I don't like liars act. It's going to happen.
No, well, what's tough is while I agree that you're gonna get liars, what makes it tough is how you gonna justify that against Rick, who made it so far, and really didn't hurt anybody at the end of the day.
No, he didn't do a thing, and just and he overly likes the knife in the back analogy. Like every time he was going to be voted out, he used a knife in the back analogy. It's like it's a game of Survivor. Just they carried you this far.
Mm-hmm.
Just you gotta expect it that they're gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anyone, he should have. I think he should have just targeted one person or two people as opposed to all three of them, and because you know what, at the end of the day, two people are gonna obviously backstab you, but if anything, I would go with Coach and say, you know what, this guy tried to do the best he could. And he just messed up. Whereas Albert and Sophie, they, at the end of the day, for me, are manipulative people.
Yeah, they didn't really have any interest in Rick.
Yeah. Whereas Coach actually did.
Yeah.
It pained him.
I mean, when Coach, when Rick asked him, and Coach, didn't outright, they didn't lie to him saying, no, you're safe. Like, he sort of hinted at, you might be on the chopping block. He tried to be as honest as he could with them. And maybe he could have saved her, maybe he couldn't have. But at least he was he wasn't like an outright liar to you.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess let's talk about the final voting. I mean, I loved the very nice transition into the live studio. Very well done.
And I'm disappointed since, in some of the early seasons, they went through all through the theatrics of Jeff taking the voting box from the actual location of where they had Survivor to New York City or LA. They would have him go through the jungle, get on a boat, paddle his way somewhere, get in a taxi cab, and it was just awesome. It was 2 minutes of Jeff Probst doing random crap. And just for having to get rid of that, get back to that.
Oh, fair enough. I did enjoy this one. What I didn't enjoy though, when they showed shots of people, right? And so it was the jury. And then it was three people, and I was like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
And literally it took me a moment before I realized, oh, wait, that's Albert, Coach, and Sophie. And I would have liked to see maybe a before and after picture, you know what I mean? Because that would have helped me. It's just so weird to see these guys.
Yeah, because...
Go ahead.
In the first season, they did the actual reveal, live there. So, the people on the cast knew before the season aired who won. And then... once it became a big thing of people know who won and all that, they made it a secret in the second one. And what they did was they had the people pretend it was shot there, but it's actually live. So you had them grow out their facial hair again, not put on all that weight, and it was much more appealing to see just them looking like they did on the island.
Mm-hmm.
And to have them go back to where they're like all made up. They're back at their original weight. It's kind of off-putting.
Yeah, it certainly was. Again, the before and after picture definitely would have helped, and I just didn't like it. Whereas Jeff was still in kind of, I'm gonna just call it like jungle clothes. To see them around a campfire in suits and ties and all that, it just no. I get it. You want to be classy, but no, that's not Survivor.
Yeah, I don't think Jeff would call them jungle clothes though. I think he just calls them clothes. I think that's what he wears everywhere he goes. I mean, he just got married like last weekend, I believe. I think he wore that to his wedding, like just like a blue like shirt and khaki shorts.
Hey, good for him. I mean, you know what I mean? I would love to go through life just wearing camo shorts and like some rag t-shirt, you know? It's the best.
I mean, there's not much preparation involved. What am I wearing today? I'll go with the blue shirt and the khaki shorts.
Yeah.
Sold.
And a belt.
Yeah, that's all you need.
There, exactly. Did you have any inkling that Albert would just somehow win?
No, I knew he was toast. Like just the questions that you had in the jury, like his awful initial speech, his awful answers to people, like Whitney call him out, Albert, you're sleazy.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that Whitney was in process of cheating on her husband, and she calls him sleazy. I mean, how bad did Albert look to everybody then? I mean, if she's calling him sleazy, you know it's pretty bad.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about the reunion show, and maybe we might have a full dedicated episode to the reunion show. But for those, why don't you give your thoughts on it, as I didn't actually see it?
I mean, as a whole, it was all right. Like, they focused a little too much on Brandon. Like, they had an initial conversation with him, and then they went back to him, and then they interviewed, like, Russell was there, and he basically critiqued Brandon's whole game. And it was just, I don't know, just nothing really happened.
Well, the thing about that is, I forget which tribal council it was, but when they brought up God again and how Albert, I think it was when people were bringing up the example, Albert manipulated Brandon based off of God, and I believe it was Whitney. She just like started filing her fingernails because we're just over that sort of topic, I guess. I think we've seen Brandon go through that journey. He's struggled as a Christian man, and now it's over.
And they sort of mentioned that, like they asked Coach about how overly religious it was, and I guess he was saying that between Brandon and Albert, it morphed into like a big prayer, like he called it prayer palooza, I believe was his term.
Yeah.
And I never really saw Albert as a religious type, because I didn't really focus on it, but I guess it existed.
Yeah, I mean, and I think. At this point, I was over it. I think the audience is over it, and obviously, at least what seems to me obvious, the rest of the cast was over it. They were just like, okay, enough with the God thing.
Yeah, it was just a little over the top.
What did they talk to Cochran?
Yeah, and he came off pretty well. Like, he mentioned how, like, Jeff asked him, like, what's the reaction on the street? Like, first of all, I don't really picture Cochran having his ear to the street. It just seemed like a bad terminology.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, I thought I made good moves, but they didn't really like me on the internet. It's like, you kind of feel bad for him that he's looking online and seeing all the negative reaction. Because I don't know how I would react to that. And from watching him, he looked pretty confident in what he did. So you have to give him credit on that.
Well, here's what I was... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, what I was going to say about Cochran, I know he's, and you and I have criticized him certainly early on, but at the end of the day, you know what? He got far than you and I ever expected.
Yeah.
And you know what? At the end of the day, he played a decent game. He tried to do moves that he thought would get him far, and unfortunately, he got screwed over by the big three, as I'm going to call them now: Albert, Sophie, and Coach especially.
Yep.
And it just didn't pay off. But he at the end of the day, he came off as a very likable guy, and just
Yeah, he definitely did.
so I hope the people that initially were writing those things, that they kind of feel like us and just realize, okay, you know what, that was him early on, but we got to know him.
I mean, the move he made was atrocious. I mean, you can't forget that. But at the same time, he mentions like, yeah, I went in thinking I'd make all these good strategical moves, and after a certain once, like I started hearing my name being mentioned as a possible candidate to be voted off, I just got really defensive and I went down this path. And I guess I can see it because I never played the game. It's easy for me to critique everything watching from thousands of miles away. But for him to live it, and he seems like a smart enough guy, so if that's what he says happened, then I'll believe him.
Yeah. And again, at the end of the day, I don't think he was out to hurt anybody. He he stood by his word. He gave back Ozzy the immunity idol when it came time for it and all that. So I think he played a good game.
Yeah, and I respect him for voting for Coach. I mean, that was the right decision. Vote for Coach to win. He deserved to win.
Yeah.
And also something he brought up was the fact that he wrote, while he was at Harvard Law, he wrote a paper on the survivor jury system compared to the American judicial system, which I don't know if it's really dorky that I want to read it, but I want to read that thing. It seems very interesting.
It does. I can see that being interesting. Who else did they? I mean, I would imagine the big players were Sophie, Coach, Ozzy, Cochran, Brandon, Albert. Who else? Did they talk to Jim? By the way, I just love Jim, the marijuana seller.
They spoke to him a little bit. He mentioned because Jeff said that he envisioned Jim as being a good player, and Jim mentioned like I made this move, didn't really work out. So it didn't really have him on for much, but he got more airtime than somebody like Papa Bear.
Oh, Papa Bear, I remember. Yeah, Papa Bear. But here's the thing about Jim. I think for Jim, he screwed himself. He was overconfident. He said, I play poker, or I play cards, and so I know how to gamble right. I know how to pick moves, and you just got overconfident.
Yeah, and that's it.
So
ended up being his downfall.
It did.
And they did mention Brandon, and they went into like how his family's viewing him, and it came out that nobody from his family came to support him there. Like they all basically abandoned him.
Wow, Jesus.
And it's like, pretty harsh. I mean, and Russell's there like, I am your uncle, this and that, but it just seemed. I just felt bad for the guy. I mean, yeah, we made fun of him the whole season, but I mean, he's just a 19-year-old kid trying to do what he believes right. So for his family just to abandon him like that, I mean, just
and I think
pathetic.
I think at the end of the day, they should have came out and expressed their opinion. Yeah, what he did was wrong. We don't agree with him, but as you said, he's a young person, and I think he's learning from the experience. And we hope for the best that he takes the good out of all of this, and it seems like he is.
Yeah. And like the way Russell said it, like he just came off even creepier than he did on his season. Like the guy's just a scumbag. Mm-hmm. And like Jeff teased, like wanting to do a future season, like one tribe would have Russell, the other one would have Brandon. And it's just no, enough of Russell.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: did they ask Michaela anything?
Not a thing.
Not a thing. Oh man, I would have loved Michaela's opinion on Brandon after all this.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting.
Man, that's tough.
He was one of the ones they didn't say anything to. Like they didn't ask Samhar about a poetry career, nothing. Mm-hmm. Disappointing.
Before we head into our commercial, what kind of stood out to you about the reunion show? Maybe like just give us like 2-3 things that you thought were noteworthy.
Like Ozzy, like they focused on him a lot, and he came off very well. That's something that you should watch out for. And like they asked Whitney about basically cheating on her husband with Keith, and like she gave like her answer, and like the cast like applauded her. It's like, did you just applaud her for cheating on her husband with some random schlepper on Survivor?
Was Keith smiling the whole time? With his was Keith smiling his kind of pretty boy smile the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
Wow.
and like he was like overly made up. He looked like a different person.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, not a overly spectacular reunion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, what would you really ask? Especially it made it so tough. You just go through this 2-hour journey to pick a winner. I thought it was on purpose made anticlimactic when Sophie won, because you knew there was a reunion show coming up literally right after. So, that's what made it tough, and that's why I did want to talk about the reunion show now, because I felt I did miss out. There was something incomplete, and I had to see the reunion show, but I knew there was, it's just fluff at the end of the day, I feel.
Yeah, and it's like all the people who you want to still hate each other or just have moved on, like Ozzy and Sophie have moved on. So that whole dynamic is gone, and it's just, let's all be friends. Cochran, I love everybody here. No, I don't want to hear that.
Fair enough. Well, why don't we go to our commercial, and then we'll go into predictions, ironically. I don't know what we're going to predict, but we could predict the next season or something. Maybe Steamer's going to be on it.
They give a little teaser on the season, so we'll talk about that.
All right, excellent. I did not get a chance to see that, so you will be my eyes and interpretation. We'll be back right after this.
AfterBuzz TV.
Hi, I was once like you, a lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And, like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV.
AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about? And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, Steamer, what do we predict?
Well, the next season, they gave a little teaser at the end of the reunion. It's called Survivor One World. The basic concept is there's two tribes, but they're living on the same island. I don't know if that means the same camp or like the same general island where they might bump into each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. That's one of like the ideas that I've seen float around the internet for the past 8 years or whatever, 10 years. Like just have them on the same island competing. And then like when they win the challenge, a reward challenge or what have you, they're there with like their food. And it's like, do they share with the other tribe? Do they keep it to themselves? Like there'll be all sorts of like interesting dynamics of how that works. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
It'd be fun. Should we burn down the other tribe's hut in the middle of the night, or should we not?
Yeah. Should we go eat their food? Should we not? I mean, there's all sorts of strategical moves that could be a part of that.
Exactly. Well, no matter what it is, I'm looking forward to it. As I said, Go ahead.
And I have a source who has told me that next season will contain Russell Hantz's Mailman.
Interesting. Russell Hantz.
Yes, I believe that's what I heard. So
at least he has a job title, as opposed to like Russell Hantz's nephew. You know what I mean? At least he has like a title, an occupation.
That's what they should do, though. They should really bring back like all sorts of anybody connected to Russell Hantz.
Russell Hantz is dentist. Russell Hantz is mailman. Yeah. Interesting.
And then like a Survivor like 62, they could have like the kid who Russell Hantz gave a noogie to in the second grade.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Just any sort of connection to Russell Hantz. Let's just play off that, since everybody loves them from Russell Hantz.
I love them. That's so true. Well, Steamer, as we sort of wrap out this show, I do want to say I think it was a great season for us. I enjoyed doing this with you.
Definitely was.
We'll
I did as well.
For next season, I think I'll definitely get us some more co-hosts, so that way we have more interaction, more opinions.
Yeah.
We do appreciate the people writing in, commenting, and all of that. Steamer, what's next for you? What other shows? I know you're a big reality buff, so I'm sure you'll be commenting on one of the MTV ones, I'm sure, or the challenge.
Yeah, I don't know when the next challenge starts. I know they started filming it back beginning of November. I know they're done now. I just don't know. There's normally a little lag time in between completion and when they start showing it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's next for their Wednesday night 10 o'clock slot after the Real World, so I don't know if it'd be sooner or later. But I'll definitely be here for Survivor, which starts sometime in February. I'll say around middle of the month.
I see. Okay, well, we'll be back then. And we do want to say, hey, we obviously do a lot of after shows. If you like Steamer, check him out. He's done a few of them, and we'll continue to do all of them. And then check out some other ones you may like. Again, you like Survivor? I'm sure there's other shows you watch as well, so check it out on AfterBuzz TV. But on behalf of me and the Steamer, and even our special co-host every now and then, Rob Zboknik from Survivor Thailand, which is out on DVD. It was a great season.
Check it out on Amazon.
Exactly. We appreciate you listening, and tell your friends. And tweet at the Steamer about anything. I mean, this kid loves Twitter. Yet he is a font of knowledge on all things pop culture, really. So.
Yes. A little too obsessive, but I enjoy myself in pop culture.
Hey, you know what? It came in handy. You thought that skill was worthless, but look how handy it is coming in with AfterBuzz TV and the joy you bring to many, many fans.
Exactly. It's a wonderful platform to spout my various opinions.
All right, guys. I don't want to say it, but this is it for this season.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later, survivors.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.